All right, folks. It is Monday. Good mythical morning to all of you. It's the notorious, glorious V, the Guerrilla Economist, coming to you live with my main man, El Cuco, a.k.a. CJ, a.k.a. the master of the flux capacitor. He knows the power of the dark side because he's the one who powers it himself. All fueled by Don Julio Tequila and a proud sponsor of... Siege, what are some good tequilas out there, bro?
What kind do you prefer? Do you prefer like the ones that are just the sipping ones or the mixing ones?
That's a good question. I like a sipping one. What's a good sipping one? Frank would be interested in a good sipping one.
Don Julio is a good one. Gosh, there's some really expensive ones, but I can't remember the name because I never ordered them. They're like $50 just for like a shot of it, right? It's like no way. I'm not gonna do that.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I had the Patron Cafe XO. You ever had that? It's like a creamy coffee flavored one. It's delicious.
I don't think so. No.
Oh, it was good, man. I was like, wow, this is quite yummy. Yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty good, man. I could not complain, my friend. I could not complain.
I was sipping a little tequila for the UFC fights on Saturday night, and
dude, I loved how Ortega got his face made into hamburger.
Gosh, yeah, it was a clinic. It was a clinic of striking skills and what Ortega.
And takedown defense. Look at Max Holloway's takedown defense. Every time Ortega was rushing him, trying to wrap him up, get him down on the floor, Holloway just escaped.
Yeah, he did escape. Like there was at least 2 or 3. It was a great fight to watch. I mean, it went to the stop. I completely agree. I apologize for those listeners that are not UFC fans, but I'm a huge UFC fan. But I agree with the stoppage. I mean, Ortega's face looked like he got hit by a semi. He's a young dude. He doesn't need to run the risk of having any type of permanent eye damage or anything like that. So hats off to the UFC, to the doctor that went in and said, "Hey, we have to stop this. This is a beating." I mean, the last round would have not mattered one bit.
It would not have changed the outcome whatsoever. I mean, Ortega was taking too many shots at that. It's pretty interesting. You got Ortega, he really, in my opinion, has a padded record. He is somebody who hasn't really proven himself in the UFC as of yet in a top-tier caliber. And people were hyping Ortega. Oh, Brian Ortega, he's going to beat Khabib Nurmagomedov. No way in hell. No way in bloody hell would Ortega stand a chance. And this night proved it. Saturday night proved it. When Max Holloway put on a clinic, bro. Holloway and McGregor, that's going to be a good fight. It's a fight that's long in the making, and that is one that I want to see. Hey, also, the Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight versus Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina, the Bullet, one of my favorite female fighters. She's one of the best ones out there. She's amazing. Dude, the power, the precision. She destroyed Joanna.
Yeah, both of them were just dominant performances. Definitely. Yeah.
Great.
I'm just thankful my son saved me that night, because he's a huge UFC fight fan as well, and it was my wife's birthday. Okay, and my wife's an only child, so it's like it's like the whole weekend or the whole month is her birthday. She knew there were fights that night, so I think she was curious to watch my actions. And so I dropped my son off at Fight Club, right? And lo and behold, like before the last 2 fights, he sends me a text, "Dad, are you going to come to the fights or not?" And I said, "Sorry, hon, the son needs me. We've had dinner and everything. I'm out of here."
Nice.
Yeah, but it was a great night of fights. I'm excited for the one coming up on December the 29th.
Who we got?
We have John Jones versus, is it Gustafsson? Is that how you pronounce
it? Oh,
yeah.
Gustafsson. Yeah. That's going to be a good fight, man.
It's going to be a great fight. And then just below them, don't forget.
Can we start drug testing the hell out of John Jones already? The sociopathic liar? The freaking liar? I mean, I can't stand John Jones, man. How about you?
he's a huge disappointment. I mean, he's had several opportunities.
I don't know how it got there. I don't know how Trenbolone got into my bloodstream. Maybe it's the protein powder I took. Maybe there was some Trenbolone in there. Trenbolone is an injectable steroid. How would it be in your protein powder? God. Come on. You were saying, bro?
No, I was going to say, and then obviously, the women's fight to watch Cyborg.
Oh my God! Nunez is going to back out. Amanda Nunez, the night of the fight, she's going to say that she has uncontrollable diarrhea and have to be admitted at the hospital. She's not going to fight Cyborg. She's stupid. Cyborg would maul her to death.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much he's making for that fight, but I have a feeling Dana dropped some serious cash.
He has to
for her to fight Cyborg.
She's obviously get her face broken. Chris Cyborg is going to murk her.
Yeah, so that's Saturday, December the 29th. Yeah, so I'm excited about the next one. The next one as well. Good stuff.
A lot of good fights coming up, man. A lot of good fights. Do you think we'll ever see that Cormier-Lesnar fight? Hopefully in the new year. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mixed feelings about that. I don't like it when the UFC does that kind of crap. And there's a lot of Cormier is ditching Miocic, and he deserves a rematch. Miocic, he deserves a rematch. The guy defended his belt 3 or 4 times.
But Miocic got creamed though, man. That fight with Daniel Cormier.
Well, he hit him with a punch. I won't say it was a lucky punch, but it did catch him. But I definitely think he deserves a rematch.
Yeah, I agree.
In my opinion,
I want Cain Velasquez to get healthy again, bro. I want Cain to come back.
Brown pride, absolutely.
Hell yeah, dude. Cain Velasquez, if he wasn't for all the injuries, would be the nastiest. He still is the most dangerous heavyweight. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, all those years of wrestling at ASU probably took its toll on his back, I imagine, and everything else.
Exactly, man. You know what's taking a toll, man? I'll tell you what's taking a toll. Emmanuel Macron is taking a toll. Mm-hmm. Emmanuel Macron. Unreal, man. Anyway, Siege, where do you want to start? We got Macron. We got the thing.
We can start. Let's go ahead and start because it's not getting a whole lot of discussion over at the Gadfly. We did detail it out quite a bit in regards to this just shows you that across the globe that globalism, that the European Union, that it's starting to unravel completely. And I know that there's some mixed thoughts on it because of just some of the things, some of the liberal things that the yellow jackets are demanding. However, for the most part, what they're uprising against is the state and being taxed to death. And Macron is in deep trouble because primarily when you take a look at the people that are starting to support this movement, you're looking at some of the police officers, the firefighters are jumping aboard. And I have a feeling this is going to spread. It's going to be a contagion, and you're going to witness this, across the EU. And V, I think this specifically ties back directly to Brexit and the fact that the people are witnessing and say, hey, you know what? That didn't work. Here you had the UK vote to leave the EU, and it didn't work. So they're not listening to the people. So this is the only way that they feel that they're going to get their voices heard, or these protests and that have turned violent. What are your thoughts?
1,000%, man. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And it's a global revolt. It's a global revolt. The New World Order that we've been talking about. Remember when George H.W. Bush died and his funeral when George W. Bush, his son, got up there and said, Dad he was the brightest of the 1,000 points of light. He was the brightest. And all throughout the 90s, being a young guy, I remember George H.W. Bush constantly talking about, it's a bold new idea, a brave new idea, a new world order, 1,000 points of light. He's always talking about the damn 1,000 points of light. You all know about all the occult connotations that are attached to that. But you got to look at it this way. That 1,000 points of light since 2016. I would even say going back to 2012, where it was really building into a crescendo, is absolutely coming apart. It is being shattered. It is being shattered. The 1,000 points of light is being refracted, deflected, and retracted in all sorts of obtuse and inane angles that the New World disorder makes no sense and has no culpability, no power, no anything in this world. It just can't. It just can't project itself, man. Macron's defeat, folks, in Paris sounds like an alarm for Europe, and it is an alarm. Because, see, now, all of a sudden, here comes the Yellow Jackets. Where are they? They're in Belgium. Here comes the Yellow Jackets. Where are they? They're in the Netherlands. Here come the Yellow Jackets. They're everywhere that you wanted them to be. They're spreading throughout Europe. The problems that are in Europe. You see, the whole concept of the EU, folks. The concept of the EU would work. It would work if there was a perpetual economic growth. If there was a perpetual economic growth, then the concept of the European Union would work. But you cannot have perpetual economic growth with an unelected, unaccountable, unvoted upon conglomerate of kleptocrats sitting in a tower in Belgium, making edicts and decisions on various countries that belong to this quote-unquote union, various countries with a diversely different economy and demographics, and hoping that this whole hodgepodge can be managed. And that is the arrogance of globalism. That is the arrogance, the outright arrogance of globalism and its adherents. Because you have to be an academic acolyte who has all the theory in the world and no practical. You have to be an academic acolyte, an apparatchik of dogma, a member of this cult called globalism, whose adherents practice a type of political control that only works in a vacuum, devoid of national identity, devoid of culture, devoid of economic drivers, devoid of religious differences. And if you subtract all of that from humanity, and then you subtract all emotion from humanity, then probably, and then maybe, and then you strip all intellect from humanity, then only your global scheme of an unelected government running the world and running regions would actually work. But that's not going to happen. And now you're seeing, folks, that the concept of having a global hodgepodge, and like I said, folks, many times over, the EU was the dry test run. The EU was the dry test run for global government. Vertically integrated by an unelected body, a controlled and managed economy, with no national sovereignty amongst any of the nations, and its entire existence and the way of life for its citizenry managed, directed via edict from unknown, unnamed, unannounced people. That didn't work out so well. And now the Yellow Jacket Revolution is breaking out throughout the entire world. Throughout the entire EU. And you're seeing them, CJ, coming up in Belgium. You're seeing them all over the place. You're seeing it when the finance minister of Italy saying, yeah, we can't contain this debt. The people are marching the street because they understand They understand that this EU concept doesn't work. You see, the globalist planners, folks, they thought it was all said and done. They thought it was all under control. After all, the Greek Revolution, after all, the Greek Revolt failed. Remember the Greek Revolt back in 2008, 2009, 2011, 2013, 2014? The Greek Revolt? When Alexis Tsipras was eventually put a brittle in his mouth, a bitten brittle in his mouth, and they started steering him into the direction that they wanted him to do, the entire Greek Revolt fell apart. But now, folks, now there's no stopping this. Now it's not some of the poorer Southern European economies. It's no longer Italy, and I'm sorry, it's just no longer the Greeks that are yelling about this. Now it's Italy. Now it's France. Now it's Germany. Now it's Belgium. Now it's the Netherlands. Hungary is saying, yeah, we're not going to take any more migrants. Poland is saying, yeah, no migrants. We're not interested. The entire concept of the EU is falling apart. Less than a month ago, French President Emmanuel Macron staked his claim as the flag bearer for globalists. Y'all remember that? If you're not a globalist, you're not patriotic. That is an idiotic line from the very pages of 1984. It is something that Big Brother would say. Peace through war. War is peace. Ignorance is strength. Globalism is patriotism. Only in the world of a brain-damaged, rotted cerebellum, cerebrum of a globalist lackey, the Rothschild poodle, named Emmanuel Macron, would he do something stupid like that? And he becomes the flag bearer for globalism. In a speech to 60 world leaders at the Arc de Triomphe. Some triumph, huh, CJ? Yeah. Every single invading army has walked through there and the French have surrendered. And now you got a bunch of guys in yellow, night reflective vests walking through there, and yet again, the French leadership keeled over and they showed their bellies. Eulogize the United Nations and declare nationalism the betrayal of patriotism. Stupidity. Like, how dumb does he think people are? Last Saturday, tear gas and cobblestones flew in the same parts of Paris as protesters trashed the iconic monument and demanded Macron's embattled government withdraw a proposed fuel tax, which is basically a carbon tax. For the first time in his presidency, he backed down. It was a humbling moment for his opponents of the populist revolts that spawned Donald Trump. A humbling moment. They smelled blood, and they're going for the jugular. There's nothing humbling about it. The Yellow Jackets have been emboldened. Europe has seen many critical juncture in recent years, from the Great Debt Crisis to the anti-immigrant backlash against refugees and Britain's Brexit vote. Rarely, though, have so many political vultures been circling around one leader with so much stake for the world order. This is an article from Bloomberg. Poland is flirting with the far right and nationalist parties. They always have. Cajoled by Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. God bless Viktor Orban. Applauding a rebellion at European parliamentary elections in May. Meanwhile, Italy has collided with the European Union by taking a defiant stance on its budget spending. With the EU's erstwhile firefighter Angela Merkel planning to step down as German chancellor, the whole thing is falling apart, Siege. And the baton has supposed to pass to Macron. Macron was supposed to be the head poodle in charge, baby. He was supposed to be the HPIC, the head poodle in charge. But Merkel's power on the world stage was underpinned by political fortunes at home. And the French leader looks like anything but solid. You can't make speeches about defending the international order when your popularity is at 20%. True story. You can't talk about the wonders and the virtues of globalism when your popularity is at 20%. and you got people rioting in the streets. You're popular right now. Emmanuel Macron's popularity right now is probably between 12 and 13. It is diving at a rate. I think he's going to beat the record that Francois Hollande set, CJ. It took Francois Hollande a few years to get to 20%. And it took him a few years to get down to 12. I think Macron, before the week is out, Siege, will probably see a 12 to 15% popularity rate, at which point his parliament is in danger of dissolving.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
A stark contrast to the weekend of November 11th as leaders marked a century since the end of World War I. Macron championed the need for global cooperation while Trump cut an isolated figure. Trump was cut as an isolated figure. See, did you see all those European yellow jackets screaming in Paris saying, "We want Trump, we want Trump, we want Trump"? Oh my God. This is crazy. But this is what's happening. Europe's divisions were laid bare that day as the Polish government officials marched through Warsaw with far-right groups to mark the country's independence. You know, if you love your country's independence, like if you're a patriot, you want your country to be independent, you want your country to be free of the shackles of globalism, then you, my friend, are far-right. I love how these naming conventions work, Siege. I love it. I love it.
Convenient, isn't it?
It really is, man. Merkel's falling apart. The EU's falling apart. The French poodle is failing. I mean, it goes on and on. See, what's your take, man?
You know, I love the movement. I'm just real curious on the organization of it, and I'm trying to understand that if this is truly, you know, a grassroots movement. I'm not saying that this is staged at all, but we know globally that economically the world is in really bad shape right now, really bad shape. And you know what's going to happen with the EU the moment that they start dissolving. I just worry about, are they going to, there's already some conversation about this past weekend and how it cost the economy in France, you know, over billions of dollars. This is causing, you know, this type of movement. And I just worry sometimes if they won't use these things to kind of blame them on a larger event, something else happening, and especially with the spreading, kind of the same concern that I have here, you know, in the United States as well, in regards to a push to, you know, nationalism, a push to, you know, warrant in some type of new economic model saying, you know, we attempted this, it failed, this was the result of it, so now we need to accept something different. But definitely, I just trying to understand the, you know, Luke from We Are Change spent the whole week in there and did a very good job of documenting everything, you know, lots of live stream and just the organization of it, the movement. I just curious. I know it's a lot of the labor union. That's, you know, we've discussed it quite a bit on the Gadfly, but just trying to understand and pinpoint, you know, the timing of it. And I'm just curious about it. I think everything that we have to question everything that's happening right now and the timing of it, V.
You know, I mean, it's yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, man, it's like, you know, I'm happy they are revolting against the proposed carbon tax increases, and which is really throwing a monkey wrench into this whole entire thing. And I think, yeah, you're right, man. I mean, Luke Rudowski has a great video out. Folks, go check it out, where he's literally in the thick of it. You're seeing people be, you know, people getting hit by rubber bullets, the whole 9 yards. It's spreading. You know, you can't stop an idea whose time has come. If there's no standing army, see, you remember that quote? What was that quote again? Do you remember?
The Tree of Liberty?
No, it's there is. I think there's nothing. Let me look this up real quick. I love this. I know somebody in the nothing greater than an idea whose time has come. What is that? Oh, yeah, yes. That's the quote from Victor Hugo. There is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. There's no standing army, no government, no agency, nothing no edict, no ruler, no dictator, no tyrant can stop an idea whose time has come. And it took us quite a number of decades to get here. I would say maybe even centuries. But the revolt has begun. And it has begun in a big way. And the idea of the nation state, CJ, the nation state, which is the most beautiful thing that could ever happen in the face of globalist control. That idea is an idea whose time has come, and there's no standing army in the world that could put that or end that. There's no bureaucrat in the world. And that's why we had Zbigniew Brzezinski, his last word, Siege, his last public speech, before that old technocrat globalist croaked, leaned over and croaked and died. Good riddance, and may you burn in hell, Ziggy. His last words were, it is difficult. It's more difficult today to manage 1 million people than to kill 1 million people. Because you cannot stop the flow of ideas. We cannot stop it. Siege, what else we got?
Theresa May, I think she's giving her speech right now in terms of the concessions. They're blaming that on the markets right now. And then obviously new reports on America's crushing national debt.
Yeah.
And and obviously it's taking its toll on numerous aspects. I don't think Trump's last statement in regards to, and again, I think he said it just, meaning that he understands that a new economic model is evolving, not kicking the can down the road in terms of the debt will be taken over by the next person. But it's been that way for years. And you question that, and you take a look to see, what the deep state's prime intentions are. People like, John Bolton is unfortunately not facing economic reality, that the shift is occurring, and it's the quickening right now. We're witnessing it firsthand.
Yep, absolutely, man. The Brexit is a prime example. Now they turned up the fear porn to level 15 over there in the UK, saying stock up on food supplies. There's going to be disruptions. There's going to be all these other things. Oh, it's going to be so horrible. Massive loss of life. Blah, blah, blah. Nothing's going to happen. Life will move on in the UK. Again, the state is trying to fearmonger in order to cajole the population to fall in line. And now's the time for the Brits to not shy back. No. But to go full force. To go full force into the fray that is the Brexit and accomplish the very thing that the population in England, in the UK, has voted for. Go full force. I mean, so many things are changing, Siege. So many things are happening in rapid pace. And you see, you and I have said this so many times before. America's crushing debt will be the end of the empire. How many times I said the way you kill the U.S. empire, the way you kill the deep state, you got to kill the dollar. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to kill the dollar because, see, who prints the dollar?
We do, V.
Right. No. I mean, like, who really prints it? It's the bloody freaking Federal Reserve. Right? I mean, who controls the issuance of currency? The bloody Federal Reserve. And how can you have a truly independent economic system? And I love when people tell me this. You need a central bank. The central bank concept, it just works so well. The central bank concept has never worked. The central bank concept, it goes back to 1516 with the Riksbank in Sweden. That was the first central bank that was the 1316, I think it was, the Riksbank in Sweden. That was the first central bank in the Western world. And prior to that, if you want to chase the concept, you can go all the way back to the damn Sumerians. And folks, this is not a question or an argument about, whether the currency needs to be backed by gold, silver, platinum, palladium, tinfoil, dry kibble, whatever the hell you want to call it. No, it's not about that conversation. It's not about what your currency is backed by. I am more concerned by who controls your currency. I am not concerned by what your currency is backed by. Rome had one of the greatest economic booms in the world, but its currency was backed by tin, but its currency was in the control of the people. So I'm not worried by what your currency is backed by. I'm worried about who's the issuing of who issues your currency. Who controls your nation's credit? Who controls the money supply? And if it's not the people through elected officials, then you have a serious problem. A problem when you take the central banking concept and you add the wonderment and magic of fractional reserve banking, you have what we have today. And someone say we have 21 trillion in debt. No, we're actually more than that. And you count the derivative debt that's held by some of these large institutions, it's even more. It's even more. When you count entitlements, folks, Medicare or Medicaid and all the other stuff, right? It's 70 trillion at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you got that idiot, here it is, in a talk which garnered a little attention, one of the deep state's prime operatives. One of the prime operatives, folks. A guy who knew that the Huawei CFO was going to be arrested, never told Trump, while Trump was in a meeting with Xi. And at that very succinct moment, the CFO of Huawei gets arrested, derailing much of the Chinese and American trade talks. All thanks to this man. National security. Why does this guy even have a job is beyond me. Why is he there, Siege? How come you and I could see this as clear as day, bro? Why is this guy even there?
I can't explain nor justify any of the recent Trump appointments. Very, very discouraging.
Like, you want a national security advisor? How about Ron Paul? How about that? How about we try something different instead of this insane, psychotic, schizophrenic foreign policy that we've been running for the last several decades? So, National Security Advisor John the Maniacal Mustache Bolton. Here he is, the Maniacal Mustache, speaking before the Alexander Hamilton Society. Bolton warned that the current U.S. debt levels and public obligations pose an economic threat to the nation's security. It is a fact that when your national debt gets to the levels ours is, that it constitutes an economic threat to society. And that kind of threat ultimately has national security consequences for it. What was most surprising about the Maniacal Mustache talk was that there's been little reaction to it from the financial press, the markets themselves, or political commentators. While the equity markets have been in the midst of a sell-off, it has not been due, as of yet, to deficits, currently in excess of $1 trillion annually. Instead, the slide has been the result of fears over increase in interest rates and continued trade tensions with China. While Bolton warning about the debt itself, it is very accurate in the sense that the U.S. empire, which is in part he directs, is ultimately dependent upon the strength of the economy. National security is not threatened by a debt crisis, which would mean the compromised dollar, but such an event would limit the U.S. what the U.S. could do globally. Real national security is defense of the homeland and border control, not intervention abroad. I mean, it is ridiculous.
And then
900 some odd military bases throughout the entire planet in 130 some odd countries. It's ridiculous. It's about national security. Why the hell are we in, I don't know, the Congo? Why the hell are we there? And see, that's the whole entire thing. The bloody day of reckoning is coming. See, the debt's not going away, brother.
No, not at all, V. Not at all.
I mean, well, like, what are your thoughts, man? I mean, this is just it's crazy.
Well, I think you look at the latest trade statistics, and you see that obviously the trade policies, aren't necessarily working the best. You take a look at the appointments and seeing people almost working complete opposite of the administration, right? They're not helping. They're working, against. And this is from almost, every branch currently, the State Department, the DOJ. We're going to go into detail probably on the gadfly in regards to Trump's latest appointments. You see a new potential DOJ that is a Bush. George H.W. Bush sat in his administration pretty much the same position. What are all these things telling us? What is one to believe? That we still keep hoping that something is eventually going to happen, or is it a distraction? Is it a distraction to keep a certain portion of patriots fixated on one aspect of hoping for some type of political change here? However, in the meantime, we're watching a completely economic demise here occurring before our eyes, and a lot of people are tuned out. That's probably the most disappointing thing. There's very few at all YouTube channels. Everything is more about Trump this, Trump that, and Q, and click this and click that. Everything to me that you see now on YouTube is a cheerleading thing for the administration. Very little channels anymore are really challenging, because unfortunately there's a large percentage of society that doesn't want to hear that. They want to be told that everything's great and everything's changing, but in reality, there's not much change there at all.
Absolutely. And see, with that being said, we're at the end of the broadcast. Folks, subscribe to the channel. Check us out also. Check out our sponsors, our paid sponsors, mycbedibles.com. As well as, any holiday specials running on there?
Major special. We're going to be redoing all of our packaging for next year. We're also going to be introducing a coffee club as well. So big packaging changes. And I just had a call earlier with them, and we've decided to go ahead and blow out the remaining inventory that we currently have, because obviously these are small batch. We make them fresh. We're going to be putting those on for any orders over $100, get 50% off, and that's the biggest discount largest discount we've ever offered, and that's just because of the packaging change that we're going to be doing for next year.
Yep, absolutely, it's awesome. And also, folks, check out Watch Us Trade, watchustrade.io. Join the trading room. We got the new special coming on. We're gonna have the crypto guys on later today. 7 for 7, baby. $7 for 7 days. Come and trade, make your money in the crypto markets. It's gonna be awesome. So check it out. Great show on I think Thursday or Friday. We had a great show as well. So anyway, check it out, guys. With that being said, we're over and out. Take it away, CJ.